long ago, and it happened far away. The moral of the story has been lost until today. Although we shouldn't let the past complicate the now, we wrap a stack of artifacts that help us show us how. Whatnot hopes and soggy dreams become who I am today. I'm feeling more alive in more important ways. Lost all ability to think for myself. I put it on the table, then you help yourself. Oh, wow, oh, wow. This place stinks of corruption. Shots fired confirm my assumption. Everyone is evil in their own special way. This advice I'm giving you today.
Okay, everybody. Hopefully by this point, this is a video. So I'm recording this on Friday night. So hopefully by this point you have read Iliad book 6, or are well on your way toward having finished book 6, and have made some real progress on the assignment. I want to share just this would be a short video, as short as anything I make can be. I just want to share a few observations that hopefully may help you make some sense of what you're reading, maybe help you organize your thoughts for the assignment that you're working on. All of these observations I've made in some periods and not others and whatnot, so I wanted to get them all out there, and all of them have come about based on conversations with you in different periods and different students raising questions, and at times causing me to see things in the things in the text that I hadn't noticed before, or if I'd noticed them before, had also forgotten. So anyway, one thing that happens very early in the book, right after Helenus, son of Priam, tells Hector to go back home, and Hector heads home, before we go behind the walls of Troy and join Hector and get that really intimate and moving look at his family life, we have the strange interaction between my main man Diomedes and the Trojan Glaucus. And I've seen a lot of reactions from people that just don't really get what's going on there, because it seems so artificial. And I've got to tell you, it is artificial. There's no way around it. Realism is not the mark of epic poetry. Epic poetry is about grand and glorious heroes, and they speak in poems, and behold, I am mighty, bow before my awesome, or whatever. So this scene where Diomedes and Glaucus are about to go toe-to-toe, and they're like, hey, hang on a minute. Before we kill each other and the black death swirls over our eyes, why don't you tell me about your grandpa, and I'll tell you about my grandpa, and, we'll just do that for a while. Then we'll kill each other and the black death will swirl over our eyes. It seems forced, it seems fake, and I can't remove that fortitude or fakitude totally, but if I can remind you of the setting, it may make a little more sense. We are picking up right where Book 5 left off, and Book 5 was the bodacity of Diomedes. Remember, Diomedes is supercharged by Athena with all this strength, all this speed, all this power, and also the magical power to see the gods themselves on the field of battle. When the gods merge with the soldiers, the gods are all shapeshifters, and they're usually disguised. And so if you're standing next to a god, or even worse, if you're battling a god, you just think you're battling a dude, so you really don't know how screwed you are. Diomedes had that mist lifted off his eyes, so he could see the gods, and it didn't hold him back. So he charges right after Aphrodite, and Aphrodite's not so tough. Homer calls her the coward goddess. Greek religion is different than our religion. People in the religions in our culture don't usually call their lords cowards in their holy books, but Homer's living in a different time. But even Aphrodite's a goddess. A coward goddess is still a goddess, and Diomedes goes after her, and that's not enough. That's not enough for him. He's also just got done charging after Ares, the god of war himself. And Diomedes wins. Diomedes whoops Ares. Ares goes crying back to Daddy. Oh, it hurts so bad. Help me, Dad. And Daddy Zeus is like, I hate you. I hate you more than I've ever hated anyone in the history of anyone ever hating anyone. So, this is Diomedes. He's got, this is a Nordic term, not a Greek term, but he's got the berserker rage going on. He's an unstoppable force of supernature. And so, when Glaucus comes in contact with him, and he doesn't run away, you see a killing machine like that. I mean, seeing Diomedes on the battlefield is like seeing Jason Voorhees. And when you see Jason Voorhees, you don't run after him. You run away, and then you trip, and he kills you anyway. Glaucus doesn't run. Glaucus is up for the challenge. So Diomedes is impressed. Diomedes is impressed by Glaucus having the courage to fight him, even though Glaucus has seen Diomedes do all this top-notch killing. That's what inspires Diomedes' reaction. Hang on a minute. Before we do this, I know you're not a god, because I can tell, because I have God sight. Before we do this, I want to know who you are. Who are you that thinks you can stand up against Diomedes, against the great Tydides, lord of the war cry? And then Glaucus says, well, you got a minute. I'll tell you exactly who I am. And then he goes through the story of his family, his ancestors, starting with, confusingly, he starts with an ancestor also named Glaucus. So the Glaucus he mentions is not himself. This is not a story about his children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's a story about his great-grandfather and grandfather, father, and so on. That's what leads them to swap the stories, and that's what leads them to decide not to fight one another. The details of that I'm not going to spill in the video, because that's for you to work out in the assignment. Couple other things. Let's jump into Troy. And so now we are with Hector, and before we have the moving moment with Hector and Astyanax and Andromache, we have the encounter between Hector and Helen. Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships. And what we've got to understand about Hector's relationship with Helen is he ain't got a relationship with Helen. If it were up to Hector, I know I said this in some of the classes, but not all of them, or at least not with everybody, in case you were absent. If it was up to Hector, he would put Helen on a catapult and launch her over the walls of Troy, preferably all the way into the sun. He doesn't want to fight this war. He's fighting not for the cause of the honor of Paris and Helen's marriage, because there is no honor in Paris and Helen's marriage. He's not fighting for out of love for Paris, because he doesn't have love for Paris. He doesn't want him to die, but he's really upset with his brother, and he's really upset with Helen, this woman, this temptress. And I'm not suggesting that that's entirely fair. I am suggesting that that's how any ancient Greek male reader of this text and male author of this text would read it. Helen's character is consistently slut-shamed, and she's about to slut-shame herself. So when he and Helen are talking, these are not dear old friends. But think about the position Helen's in. Menelaus is fighting to get her back. Kind of. Menelaus wants to get his hands on Helen, not to go back to normal, not for hugging and kissing and squeezing and all that stuff. The only part of Helen Menelaus wants to put his hands on anymore is her throat. Menelaus wants to get the wife that cuckolded him, and he wants to kill her in front of everybody to regain his sense of masculinity. So Helen is terrified, and Paris can't save her. I guess I kind of gave you a really big hint for one of the essay questions right there, so hopefully you're watching this video. If you're not watching this video, watch this video. So Helen needs a defender. She needs someone to protect her. That's what she comes to Hector for. And so notice what she's doing. So we're on. So we'll just do his. We'll just do her lines. So 4, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Hector, helmet flashing, answered nothing. And Helen spoke to him now, her soft voice welling up. My dear brother, dear to me, bitch that I am, vicious, scheming, horror to freeze the heart. Oh, how I wish that first day my mother brought me into the light, some black whirlwind had rushed me out to the mountains or into the surf where the roaring breakers crash and drag, and the waves had swept me off before all this had happened. But since the gods ordained it all these desperate years, I wish I had been the wife of a better man, someone alive to outrage, the withering scorn of men. This one, Paris, this one has no steadiness in his spirit. Not now. He never will. And he's going to reap the fruits of it, I swear. But come in. Rest on this seat with me, dear brother. You were the one hit hardest by the fighting, Hector. You more than all. And all for me, whore that I am, and this blind, mad Paris. Oh, the two of us. Zeus planted a killing doom within us both. So even for generations still unborn, we will live in song. I just learned a term, a really, I consider dumb term, but a fairly new term for what Helen is being here. And I learned it by having to investigate some bullying going on in one of my freshman classes. Helen's being a pick-me, or a pick-me girl. I don't have, I'm old. She's trying to seduce Hector. Come, share this seat with me and rest. Well, she wants him to join her on the couch. She doesn't really want to rest. She wants to seduce him. And she's doing it. She's doing it by both saying, oh, these other guys are nothing compared to you. Your brother is nothing compared to you. I don't want a loser wuss like your brother. And she's also doing it by attacking herself. So, this is her literal language in Homer. I'm not trying to be vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. When she says, I'm such a bitch, I'm such a whore, she may really feel like that. My guess is she's at very least exaggerating her self-loathing, because what does she want him to say? She wants him to say, oh, don't talk about yourself like that. And then she wants him to sit down with her, and then she wants things to heat up from there. Doesn't work. Her bad luck, she's chosen, at least so far in the text, she's chosen the only hero in all of epic poetry who actually loves his wife. And that's exactly what he says. He picks up, turning to go. Here's Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, the face that launched 1,000 ships. And she said, come, get on the couch with me and cuddle up with me. And he immediately gets up, turns to go. Turning to go, his helmet flashing. Tall Hector answered, don't ask me to sit beside you here, Helen. Love me as you do, you can't persuade me now. No time for rest. My heart races to help out Trojans. They long for me sorely whenever I am gone. And then on it goes. So he says, no, I have my duty. And more importantly, he has his wife that he loves, Andromache. In the next scene, we have the very moving exchange between Hector and Andromache, and even the very humanizing scene of Hector just holding baby Astyanax up in the air, or tossing him up in the air. That's if you ever have a hard time, because we're in a culture where we live with all sorts of different people, and we try our best to be open-minded and not to be bigots, not to be prejudiced, but underneath the skin of all of us is the way we were raised, and we think the way we are is normal, and we think other people are weird. And so if we're ever tempted to look at the other people who look different, people who worship different, people who love different, whatever, find the dads in that culture playing with their kids and watch them play with their kids, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, underneath all the stupid things we kill each other over, we're all just people. Oh, bonus lesson. When this I've mentioned in maybe all three classes, but I'll say it here in case anyone's absent or reaffirm it. When Andromache is begging Hector not to go, and she says, "You're my only brother now. You're my only father now." It's not incest talk there. It's because Hector is literally all she had left. Because just weeks earlier, her father, Eetion, he's the king of Thebe. Remember Thebe? Thebe was the village that the Achaeans raided right before the Iliad started. So when we talked about in the prelude stuff, and when they raided Thebe, they killed King Eetion. They killed King Eetion's 7 sons. And by they, I mean Achilles. The man who, though he's called time out, the man whom Hector feels he's destined to face down in battle. So when she's saying, stay here with me, stop this stupid fight, don't go back out there, you're all I have, she's saying to her only remaining family member, her only remaining loved one, don't go out there and face the very person who killed everyone else I love. Weeks ago. This isn't ancient history for her. This is recent history. It was the Thebe raid where Briseis and Chryseis were kidnapped and divvied up, and leading to Agamemnon losing Chryseis because she was the priest's daughter and they had the plague, and then he steals Briseis from Achilles, and then page 1, rage, single goddess, the rage of Achilles. Andromache is deeply connected to the most fundamental aspects of what's going on here. And, the tragic thing, this isn't intended as a spoiler. It's already been decided. Zeus promised Hera, when not yet, I still have to take care of Thetis, but Troy will fall. He nodded his head. Father Zeus nods his head. That happens. So in this moment, when you see this tenderness between the rare in literature loving husband and loving wife and baby son, it's doomed loving husband, doomed wife. The baby son, Astyanax, represents the future of Troy. What a lovely thought. Except that ain't no future of Troy. All right, hope that helped. So my short 3-minute video has now been going on for 17 minutes and 32 seconds. So the end.
This place stinks of corruption.